Hello, I'm a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or at least I used to be. You see, Avengers Doomsday is coming out soon, and it's got me thinking about my theater experience watching Avengers Endgame for the first time. I don't think that experience will ever be matched. I had watched every movie in the timeline up until that point, and I had so many theories and ideas of what I wanted to happen. Seeing it all play out in a room full of people having the same experience was unlike anything I've ever done. I want to do that again. The only problem is, my MCU knowledge is a little rusty. I used to be a die-hard fan, but in the last few years, I've fallen down to even less than a casual observer. Before we go any further, here's a bit of background on my involvement in the fandom. I've seen the entire Infinity Saga at least twice. I've watched many of the movies more than that, but I've done the saga all the way through 2 times. That being said, it's been a while. I started watching Phase 4 as it was coming out, and I really enjoyed a lot of the early content. WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Spider-Man No Way Home were incredible, among others. However, I started to fall off around Phase 5. Like many MCU fans, I was experiencing some Marvel fatigue. So much was coming out all at once, and it was getting hard to keep track of things. For clarity's sake, here's everything that I've seen. There's Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America the First Avenger, The Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home, WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, but only Season 1, Black Widow, What If, but only Season 1, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Hawkeye, Spider-Man No Way Home, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Agatha All Along. Beyond all of this content, I have seen a few extra pieces of content that are less important to the timeline. These include all of the one-shots, like The Consultant, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer, Item 47, Agent Carter, All Hail the King, Team Thor Parts 1 and 2, and Team Daryl. I've also seen the Agent Carter TV show, which I'm pretty sure is no longer considered canon. That was the first show that I remember really getting into, and even if it doesn't have a major impact on the canon timeline, it still has a special place in my heart. The same goes for all 7 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That show is incredibly underrated, and more MCU fans should watch it. It might deserve an I'm a Fan piece all to itself. So what's missing? If you've been following along, you probably already have some idea of what's been left out. But again, for the sake of clarity, here's everything that I have left to watch in the Multiverse Saga. There's Miss Marvel, I Am Groot, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Werewolf by Night, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, Secret Invasion, The Marvels, Echo, X-Men 97, and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. A quick side note, I didn't know that either of those 2 animated shows existed until putting together this project. Captain America Brave New World, Daredevil Born Again, Thunderbolts or the New Avengers, Ironheart, The Fantastic Four First Steps, Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, Wonder Man, and Punisher One Last Kill. Plus, I have a confession to make. I haven't seen any of the new canon content. After Disney merged with Fox, a bunch of old projects became newfoundly relevant. Things like X-Men and the old Spider movies are now ambiguously canon. The thing is, I didn't grow up on these movies like a lot of people did. When I was getting into the MCU, I didn't think they were as important, so I didn't watch them. And now that things are getting rebooted and brought back, it's really hard to tell what's important. After some extensive research, also known as some Googles and scrolls on Reddit, I've decided that it's best to go big or go home. If I'm going to be a completionist, I might as well watch everything. This includes Marvel TV shows that weren't canon at the time, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Defenders, Punisher, and the Inhumans movie. There are some other shows like Cloak and Dagger that I'm still a little iffy about, so if you have any insight on those things, please let me know. And I also want to make a quick note of saying that it's not technically everything. There are a couple shows that I ran into, like, for example, the animated TV show Hulk Smash, that I'm not including here because I don't think that is of the utmost importance. But if you do have any insight, if I'm leaving anything out, please let me know. I'm also going to include the Blade trilogy here, Blade, Blade 2, and Blade Trinity, as I believe that's being rebooted soon. After these movies come all of the X-Men, Wolverine, and Deadpool content. We've got X-Men, X2, X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, X-Men First Class, The Wolverine, X-Men Days of Future Past, Deadpool, X-Men Apocalypse, Logan, and Deadpool 2. There's also a Daredevil movie and a movie called Elektra that I have no idea what it's about, but I'm including on the list. Then we've got all of the Fantastic Four movies, including Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, Fantastic, and I hate to say this, but I haven't seen any Spider-Man movies outside the Tom Holland ones and Into and Across the Spider-Verse. Therefore, I must include Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Venom, Venom Let There Be Carnage, and Venom One Last Dance, and mostly for the memes, but also because Disney Plus includes them on the Spider-Verse list, Morbius, and Madam Web. All that said, here is my project. Before Avengers Doomsday, I will watch everything, at least all of the Multiverse Saga. I don't have time to go through the Infinity Saga again, but it definitely exists as background knowledge. Somewhere in the middle, I will throw in all of the multiverse interlude with everything that I'm missing. To give a rough outline, it will look something like this. I will start with a rewatch of Infinity War and Endgame. I've already done this, and it was a great way to get my head back into the game. Then, I will start rewatching Phase 4, but stop at Spider-Man No Way Home. At the end of this movie, the multiverse is opened, and we really start getting into those alternate realms. Then I'll go into the multiverse interlude. That includes all of this content and all of this. It's basically everything that I just talked about. I don't have a particular order for this step, but I will likely follow those little groupings that I talked about earlier too. I can see myself starting with Spider-Man because I would like to get caught up on Spider-Man content before Brand New Day comes out, and because I think it would be a nice shift to see all the other Spider-Man backstories after No Way Home. After the multiverse interlude, I will get back into Phase 4. This is where things start getting new for me, and I'm excited to watch some of the shows that I missed. After Phase 4 comes Phase 5, which is almost entirely new. I'm particularly looking forward to Thunderbolts and Secret Invasion, even though I know it didn't get great reviews. Finally, I will round things off with Phase 6 and ending with Avengers Doomsday. I haven't seen anything in Phase 6, and I honestly have no idea what to expect. I plan on providing updates at the end of each step, and I will review each piece of material and provide a review of the phase as a whole. I upload content here and on my Substack, so be sure to check that out as well. And now, just for fun, I thought I could finish things off with an Infinity Saga ranking. This way you can get an idea of my tastes before I embark on this project. I know I have some unpopular opinions here, so try to go easy on me. My ranking is based on my personal enjoyment and how much I want to rewatch these movies. And keep in mind, I haven't seen a lot of these in at least 4 years. So without further ado, here's how I rank the Infinity Saga. In 23rd, I have The Incredible Hulk. I think this is a pretty run-of-the-mill last place pick. The actor change is definitely a part of it, but beyond that, I don't find the story, CGI, or characters all that compelling. I've only seen the movie once, I skipped it on my second rewatch of the Infinity Saga, and I'm in no rush to see it again. In 22nd, I have Doctor Strange. I have another confession to make. I've never actually seen this movie in full. The first time I watched it was in a middle school class with the substitute teacher. I had to look away for the first half because the brain surgery grossed me out, and after that, the car accident and mangled hand imagery was too much for me to handle. In class, we watched until Dormammu's appearance, and I never felt compelled to finish it completely. When I did my second rewatch, I skipped it entirely. I know that a lot of people love this one, but it's not the movie for me. In 21st, I have Iron Man 3. My hot take about Iron Man 3 is that it's a Christmas movie, and I will stand by that. If Die Hard counts as a Christmas movie, then this one does too. Tony dealing with anxiety was an interesting story to follow, but I wasn't a huge fan of the villain or the twist. I completely forgot about the plotline with the kid until writing this review. It's not the most memorable, nor is it the most fun to watch. In 20th, I have Thor. A lot of people put The Dark World lower than this one, but I have fun with The Dark World. I don't have fun with the first Thor movie. I find it boring and not very memorable. I like Thor as a character, but he doesn't really find his footing until he's under Waititi's direction, in my opinion. In 19th, I have Ant-Man and the Wasp. I also don't have much to say about this one. I remember the post-credits scene more than I remember the actual movie. I remember it being fun, but I can't recall much of the plot. I know that Quantumania got horrible reviews, but I'm still looking forward to seeing where they take the characters. In 18th, I have Thor: The Dark World. I know that this movie is objectively bad, but I've always had fun with it. I love how involved Natalie Portman is, even though her role is mostly to be saved. Loki is really funny, and I love his interactions with Thor, especially when they're trying to escape together. It's not too high on my rewatch list, but I certainly don't hate it. In 17th, I have Iron Man 2. This is another one that I've always had fun with. Black Widow's introduction definitely wins it some points, and Tony and Pepper have some good quips. I also love the race car set piece, and even though the villains aren't my favorite, they do what needs to be done. Again, it's not an objectively great movie, but it works for me. In 16th, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is another one that I first watched with the substitute teacher, and I hadn't seen the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie yet. Unlike Doctor Strange, I did end up finishing this movie and later rewatching it. Needless to say, the first one is a lot better, but this one has some good moments as well. Yondu is a standout, and Baby Groot is always fun to see. And that closes out most of the sequels on this list. In 15th, I have Captain Marvel. I wish this were higher on my list, but it falls into the same trap as a lot of these earlier movies. It just wasn't that memorable. Captain Marvel as a character is really cool, and I appreciate the implications of this movie for later MCU projects, but it isn't one that I would jump to rewatch. In 14th is Ant-Man. This is the last addition to the forgettable era. Again, I like Ant-Man as a character, and I think a lot of the side characters in these movies are great, but I don't know how many plot points I could name off the top of my head. In 13th, I have Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, this is objectively the worst Avengers movie, but I've always liked it. I love the party scene at the beginning of the movie, and it's one of the rare moments of low-stakes camaraderie between the Avengers. I also love Wanda and Pietro, and I can't discount the setup for future projects. In 12th, I have Iron Man. I know this is low on the list for a lot of people, and I know I was just talking about how I can't discount the setup from Age of Ultron. This is arguably has more setup than any other, but Iron Man simply isn't my favorite Avenger. It's not like I don't like him, he's just third or fourth on the list, and his stories, therefore, are a little less appealing to me. There's plenty of other MCU movies that I would rather rewatch. Of course, I appreciate everything that Iron Man has done for the fandom, but as a personal preference, this movie belongs here. In 11th, I have Spider-Man: Far From Home. For me, this movie succeeds in all the places that the boring sequels fail. It has a memorable villain and an interesting plot, and a great relationship at the center. I love how Peter is taken out of his element, and it's great and heartbreaking to see how he navigates the world without his mentor figure. By no means is it as good as the first movie in the series, but it's up there. In 10th, I have Captain America: The First Avenger. Top 10. Besides Black Widow, whose movie is not featured on this list, Captain America is my favorite Avenger. His story is so pure and full of hope, and his origin story does an excellent job of illustrating this. I love all of the side characters, I love the historical setting, and I love the tragic ending. From here on out, it's going to be nothing but glowing reviews. In 9th, I have Avengers: Endgame. There was a time when this movie was probably in my top 3 favorite MCU films, but upon rewatch, it's not quite as amazing as I remembered. Don't get me wrong, I still love Endgame. There are a few moments that I think are better than anything else in the MCU. Captain America wielding Mjolnir was the best possible choice that they could have made. Smart Hulk saying he'll grow when Scott comes back as a baby always makes me chuckle. I love how much of this movie is fantastic and mind-blowing, and again, that theater experience is something that I'll never forget. There's enough good in this movie that I can overlook the parts where it drags and where they kill off my favorite characters in ways that defy their character arcs, but I'll discuss more of that later on. In 8th, I have Guardians of the Galaxy. I recommend this movie to people who are a bit hesitant on the MCU. I think it's a fun superhero movie, and it's a good way to see how a typical Marvel film takes shape. It makes me laugh out loud and cry, which are 2 good markers of a good movie in my eyes. Quill and Gamora make one of my favorite couples, and Rocket and Groot are great as well. In 7th, I have Thor Ragnarok. Ragnarok has become a bit of a comfort film for me. It's not too dark or depressing, and the humor lands, at least for me. I miss Jane in this one, but the introduction of Valkyrie makes up for it. I love the bright colors, and I wish more Marvel movies took inspiration from the flashiness. We could do with less monochrome final fights. Looking at you, Endgame. In 6th, I have Spider-Man Homecoming. When Peter is trapped under the building in his homemade suit, and he finds the strength to lift it off his back, I cry. Every time. This is one of the first MCU films that I saw in theaters, and with no background on the cinematic universe or Spider-Man at all, I was hooked. It's one that I could go back to time and time again. In 5th, I have Captain America Civil War. In a previous ranking of the MCU that I made, this movie took the top spot. While it's not there anymore, it still has a special place in my heart. It could double as an Avengers movie, but the focus on Captain America and Bucky really sells it for me. I love the entirety of the airport fight scene, and the politics at the center are pretty realistic. I can see why the characters would pick either side. And if we want to talk about future implications, this movie is full of them. In 4th, there's the Avengers. Similarly to Iron Man, this is one of the places where it all started out. I remember watching this movie and thinking that some parts of the middle dragged a bit, but like Endgame, I'm able to overlook that for the sheer amazement that the rest of the movie fills me with. I love Coulson. I love that shot of them all in a circle. I love shawarma. I just love the Avengers. And for the top 3, in 3rd, I have Avengers Infinity War. This one really did hold up upon rewatch for me. Each of the characters come together to form new and unique bonds, the action is packed, and the finale is one of the most memorable in cinematic history. I saw this one in theaters despite not being a fan of the MCU at the time, purely because I could tell that its cultural impact would be huge. I'm so glad that I got that experience. In 2nd, I have Black Panther. This movie could easily take and probably deserves the top spot, but I'll get into my real choice in a moment. I also saw Black Panther in theaters, and I was blown away by how good it was. Outside of being a great MCU film, it's just a great movie in general. And in 1st place, that leaves Captain America Winter Soldier. This is the first MCU film that I saw that really got me hooked. After watching Infinity War, I decided to try filling in the gaps, and Winter Soldier solidified my commitment. Captain America movies are historically my favorites, and I love Black Widow's inclusion in this film as well. The highway fight sequence is my favorite in the entire MCU, and the elevator fight gets an honorable mention as well. If you were to ask me what I like about the MCU, I would point to this movie. And that's a wrap on my MCU background. Thank you so much for listening, and be sure to stick around if you'd like to follow along on my journey. Someday I may update my MCU ranking with a full rewatch, so stay tuned for that. I plan on posting updates after I complete each section that I outlined previously, so you don't have to wait until Doomsday to hear all of my thoughts on the Multiverse Saga. I also have a Substack where I upload written versions of these videos, so if you prefer to read these, then be sure to check out my work over there as well. And until next time, thank you!